Good evening, friends. This is Barb Pask, working on a really big canvas tonight. Really big for me. This is a 24 by 30. It's a deep canvas. I show you around, spin you around, show you what I'm doing. I'm working on a still life. The old churn, which I've never painted. I've had that for years. I love that piece. And Big Croc. My focal point, I intend to be the blue and white. And it felt like it needed something else, so I put the bottle over here to the side. We'll determine whether or not I think that works as we go along. And I have toned the canvas with some burnt sienna. And I don't want to be on camera. Hopefully I won't, but you might see me pop in there. I'm a long way from it. We'll see how it goes. This would be a incentive to stay at the end of the brush, right? So I don't end up on camera. Using my viewfinder to do my sketch. This little guy here. There are not measurements on this for this size canvas, so I just kind of eyeball it and get the general format of what I think I've got there. So this is going to go on probably for several sessions. My goal tonight is just to get the canvas blocked in. You know, I thought I have several of these large canvases. I have painted this size, and I have done bigger things too, but I don't often. As you know, I do a lot of 8x10s, 11 by 14, 16 by 20, but I thought, why not? Let's go big, and that'll keep me busy for a while. Again, I expect this will go on, this will be several videos. So, but again, my goal tonight is just to get the canvas covered. So, I'm not as organized as I should be, so bear with me here. You think you're ready to go, and then I'm going to squirt some more paint out here. I'm using the box for my plein air easel. I use that most of the time because it's set up and ready to go. Apologize for the noise. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Barbara Pask again. I'll put my website in the description box below. I work in water mixable oils. I've said it over and over, but they're just oils, but they're water cleanup, so they're less toxic. Because if you paint a lot like I do, it's nice not to have solvent sitting in front of you all the time. And I work in a limited palette. 2 blues, 2 yellows, 2 reds, warm and cool of each primary. Of course white, and then I like Indian yellow, so that's an addition to my canvas. And I like transparent red oxide. So I apologize for not being more ready to go here. I'm squirting out colors. I spent a lot of time playing around with the setup, as you can imagine, because that's such a big deal. I started off with the churn because I really wanted to paint that. That was the first thing I carried in, and it's obviously a warm color, and I love blue and white. That's why I decided the blue is a complement to the orange. So hopefully that's where your eye will go. And of course I played with the light, and the light is hitting my focal point too. Maybe I can spin you around and show you my palette box here before we get going. I don't want to move this too much. If I can leave it in place. Yeah, see, this goes with my plein air easel. I have a tripod that attaches underneath, but again, I'm working with a ultramarine, cobalt, cad yellow medium, cad lemon, a crimson, cad red light. That's my Indian yellow I mentioned, of course white, and transparent red oxide. And this was a big blob of burnt sienna that I threw out there and toned the canvas with. So I'll give you one more peek at the setup. My plan is to crop in fairly tight and just show the edge of the table. So I photographed it. That's another thing I do. I play around with the light and see where I like my light source. And a lot of times I'll photograph my setup. That's a really good idea. I photographed it, then I cropped in on it to the approximate format of the canvas just to see if I liked it. Helpful tool. I even have some berries down in there. We'll see about those. I'll spin you back around. Again, because of the size of this, hopefully you can see everything. All right, let's just get some paint on here. I think I'm going to start the way Helen Van Wyck starts, which is to just kind of block in the whole outside shape. Again, I want to save some of this foreground for the draping tablecloth. Looking where things hit. I wanted to fill the canvas pretty much, so it's way over here. That pretty much fills the canvas. You know, something to consider, so you don't take off and just start sketching and then you decide it's too small, and we've all done that. And again, this is a gallery canvas, so I won't be framing it. All right, so let's think about how much of the canvas the churn takes up. Quite a bit. It's probably over into there. And that's there. It's about just kind of deciding about where that'll be. You know, we don't want anything to be too precious to us. In this early stage like this, because this is going to be sitting here after I get it blocked in, I will probably be putting more water in it because I don't care. Yeah, we're just kind of deciding placement right now. I'm going to want that over further. It's still light out right now, so I pulled my blinds. So I'm not dealing with any natural light. You know, people want these really well-lit studios, but north light's great, but you can have too much light, you know. I'm just being loose and kind of suggesting things. Did a very large still life one time. It was a lot of fun. I think it was maybe 48 by 60, and the way I did it was a client brought some of her favorite things down, and then I pulled out all kinds of props, some of my things that I thought would work, and we put it together. It was fun. We designed it together, which is something I could do for you if you're ever interested. Okay, now I'm going to look at the negative shape between these two things. Now I might be getting too high with that. I feel like I am, because I can see on the top of that churn. So we're going to bring that down a little bit. haven't left the house much lately. I'm sure none of you have either. I have been walking every day, which is nice. I live right by a park. Go to Kroger's and pick up the groceries, and I do have to go to the eye doctor tomorrow. I do not want to do that. I've had a little bit of an issue with one of my eyes. I've been doing eye drops, and you know, I just don't want to go out. Keep hoping it'll get better. Again, I don't have big goals tonight. My goal is to basically get my sketch on. We'll probably get some color on here, but it'll be thin, and okay, that's the top edge, so I'm going to look down. Anything to help you do your drawing, you know, how much space from here to here, put that in. I do a lot of pets, and you just use anything you can to help you sketch them. Animals are nice to do if they have a variety of colors on them. Helps you sketch them. Black animals are the toughest, in my opinion. Okay, now let me look at that. That runs downhill. Let me get that. Putting my brush out straight, my arm straight out, and I'm looking at that. So then this would run downhill too. Okay. And this has some printing on it, and haven't decided yet. That's a long way off. Whether we'll just, you know, suggest any of that, or I don't know. Had this piece for years. It's fairly big and bulky. I keep it up on top of a tall cupboard. I love old wood pieces. I just have always been drawn to old wood things. I have butter molds, if you know what those are. People, when they used to churn their own butter, used to put it in molds, and they're wonderful. I've never painted any of them. They have patterns in them, like pineapples and stuff. Then I've got quite a few of those, and I've got, as far as wood iron, butter molds, coffee mills. I've painted that before. Of course, I had lots of crocks. All right, now let's relook at this again because we re-sketched this. I'm ignoring the top of that right now to try to get that symmetrical. It's got a, and I gave some thought into this too. There's a handle here, and I wanted to see part of that handle. And this guy has a crank on it, okay, and I didn't want that coming right at me either. That's something to really watch for when you set up a still life, is to don't have things coming directly at you, foreshortened, because they can be challenging. I mean, if you can help it, you can't always help it, but look at every individual item, because sometimes then you'll get into it and you know, it just doesn't work. You know, make it easy for yourself, easier. And again, there's some berries and stuff here. And the bottle, I brought him over to kind of overlap. Again, I am putting water in these to try to get them to move. They're not as probably as easy to work with in that respect as traditional oils. Let me look where this lands about. Oh, I can see it. You can't see very well, can you? Let's tilt you up a little bit. I'll try to move you around. Okay. This has a number 3 on it, which is kind of fun. We probably will put that on. Okay. Now see, these are in the wrong place. That's okay. Let's see. Let me do some measuring here. See where this. Make sure I got the height of this crock correct. There's not much to look at to judge that, so let's get this sketched in. That'll help us. When we do handle, I'm going to look at the negative space inside the handle. Okay. Let me see if I feel like I've got that about right. Kind of suggesting the pattern just to help me get the height. About there, I think. And the bowl. Got a lot of little bowls I bought over the years. Again, this is about where and these berries we're going to bring more down into there. Shadows, trying to see where they are. Actually, they're lit back up in here behind. You can see the handle kind of goes back up into there. This is all dark over in here. Of course, very dark under here. All right, so let's get to blocking that in. Cleaning that brush a little bit. Got a brush that's somewhat large. It's a Rosemary & Company, number 8. And again, this is just going to be a block in, probably fairly wet, because this is all I'm hoping to get done tonight. So again, big canvas for me. I like painting small because you complete it quickly. And again, we're going to be painting over all this again. So what we're really trying to do is to, get it sketched in, basically, but with a little bit of paint. And of course, we're thinking values too. Mixing up an orange. Got an orange background, obviously it's probably a little hard to see much. And we're not going to make anything real precise at this point either, because I want to feel free to change it. I don't want anything to become too precious, so. Seeing it'd be fun later on, we can really, kick this up where it's catching light, more like that. Might want to even get a bigger brush, huh? Bigger the subject, really the bigger brush you should use. Get it on the canvas quicker and helps you stay looser. Again, let me look at the angle of that. That goes downhill. And we're kind of developing this as we go along too, Again, this goes downhill. I'm not overly concerned with color at this point. I'm really more concerned with value. And really with this color on here, I wouldn't really even have to do this, you know, because this is kind of the general color of what I'm doing. It's just that I want to get some paint on this canvas too. So that's part of the reason I'm blocking it in. There's a shadow here on this from the picture. Shadow here that runs up into here from the handle of that churn. Again, we're not too concerned with color, more value than anything. I know that's very red. We'll put a little blue in there. Again, there's a shadow here, and it runs up into here and over that way. Need to watch for those shadows because that's what makes it feel dimensional. And behind the picture there is catching some light. This leg back here is really in shadow. Should be doing things like cleaning out closets and stuff. Clean up my studio. That stuff's not fun though. I watched Eric Rhodes is a gentleman that puts out Plein Air magazine, and they've been every day lately, they've been showing parts of the videos that they sell on, I guess it's Lilydale, and but it's just a teaser kind of. You get like an hour of a 5-hour video, and the first day they did it, I was so excited. I thought, I can't believe they're giving this away. They weren't. Just a piece of it. Anyway, he was talking about the fact that he's going to, I think they're going to eventually have a television show where plein air artists will compete, and it'll go on for weeks. And he said you could go on there and apply. You put a little video on of yourself and some examples of your work, and so I went to the site. I don't have it in front of me. I could tell you. If you're interested, let me know. I can tell you next time. I thought maybe I would do that. But here's the thing for me that makes me not want to do it. It's the filming in Italy. Said you had to be available for 3 weeks. I mean, not that I would probably get chosen anyway, but I'm not interested in going to Italy. It's a shame it's not here in the United States. There's a series, and I guess it's, I'm gonna lighten that up a little bit, in the UK, I guess it is. I don't know if you've ever watched it. It's a portrait competition, and it goes on, I think, like the whole year. And they every week there's 9 artists, I believe, and they each have every 3 artists has a model, and they get 3 hours, I believe, to paint. At the end of that time, they turn their easels around, and the model gets to choose their favorite to keep. And then there's a panel of 3 judges that narrow it down to, is it 3 winners each week? Eventually, at the end of the year, though, they choose a finalist who gets a big portrait commission of a celebrity to do. I enjoy watching it. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but portraits are hard. Every now and then I tackle one, but you saw I did that self-portrait if you watched my channel a while back. And I mean, I did that in 50 minutes. That was just, I have done lots of live models over the years, and I paint with a couple groups, and one of them we've had hired models a few times. I do okay with it. A lot of times I'll get a likeness pretty quick, and there are some people that consider themselves portrait artists that they get there, but it just seems to take them longer. So I like it. It's not something just another thing I do to I think makes you a better artist, to just try everything. Again, I'm really just sketching with paint is what I'm doing right now. See, this still should be more of an angle than I have it. You know, and this could have been a case where we could have wiped out the drawing like I've done before too. Would have been another way to go at this. All right, let's look at the crock now. And it's more of a gray color, so I would arrive at that by just using 3 primaries. Make a green, and then put red in it. And then white. Let's do the dark side first. A little darker at the very top here. A little warmer as it goes to the light. Of course, I've taken a lot of workshops in my life, and a lot of those artists talk about how the point where the light meets the shadow is, some people call that the bed bug line. I don't know if you ever heard that saying. The purest and the richest color are supposed to be right in there. I did watch an artist demoing the other day. She was doing pastel, but she had an interesting scene going with shadows, and she introduced another color around the edge of the shadow. She was saying to help, she wanted them to vibrate, and it did make it interesting. That's why I think to tone your canvas in a color like this and let it peek through can be a very cool effect. All right, now we're going to block in the rest of that crock. That looks a bit green, doesn't it? This will be a long time developing. That's why I thought this would be fun to do, because this will probably make several broadcasts. And we're not going to want to divide that right down the middle. I'll get a lot more particular about color and value when it comes time to do the final coat. And there's a nice highlight on this crock. Yeah, just have fun at this stage. I mean, I like a white canvas. I like a new start. Some people I think are intimidated at that stage. I'm not. What the heck? I mean, what can I do? I like I said, I love a new start, and you know, what's the worst thing can happen? You know, we start over. This really bugs me. That crimson just, whew, really bright, isn't it? Try to kill it with some blue. I've got to push this down at an angle like that so the perspective makes sense, and you can you can see all this side, which I like. So it's got to look like, you know, this is running uphill. We'll get it. Okay, let's move on. Let's block in the little picture here, which actually is very close to color, to the crop color actually. There's some nice light inside of it. And it's got a rim on it. You know, we'll be doing all that later. And as you can see, I'm going pretty thin, so I'm not even getting a lot of paint on the canvas at this point. So obviously we'll be painting over everything again. Yeah, I really like blue and white. I have one piece of Flow Blue, but it's a reproduction. I don't know if you know what that is or not. Flow Blue is just beautiful. I think at the time, I don't know if it was considered a mistake. When they glazed it, the blue kind of bled around on the object, but it's really pretty. Well, I hope everybody's well in your household and you're well. It's a scary time right now. They say don't go out if you don't have to go out, you know, take it serious, and I think we all are now. My husband went and got gas today. I mean, you've got to do stuff like that, and sending with rubber gloves. Of course, he didn't wear them. He did get in the car and clean his hands right away. So I said, I've got this eye appointment tomorrow, but I don't want to go out. I do not want to be a statistic. So far, everybody in my family is healthy too, thank God. A lot of them are still working. They're, you know, necessary employees, and my son-in-law's working, and a lot of them can work from home, which is really nice. A nice down in here. That the bowl's creating. And this, I can tell, it's got to be darker. And that's what we're doing right now, right? We're just trying to get our drawing in. Hope you can see okay. I'll put you in front of it before we quit here so you can see it correctly. And this should be, I mean, this is catching really nice light, highlight here, but this should be where your eye goes, I hope, with the pattern, and there's a lot of highlights on it. Nice, really nice warmth inside there. So I'm hoping that's where I can get your eye to go. That's my goal. That's pretty much the shape of it, I think. Once we get it blocked in, we'll go back and kind of look at our values. It takes a while, it's a big canvas. Okay, and the little bowl down in front is a brighter white. You see where it's hitting on there. It's just above where this shadow is. And ellipses are tricky. This is an ellipse, this is an ellipse. There's ways you can do it. I mean, you can measure across, you know, across the bowl and compare it that way. You can, with this one, there's a pattern inside, so like I can kind of draw the line that's there and figure how much space till I hit the other rim. I mean, any way you can do it, you know. And what's really tricky about them is if you're painting from life, every little movement you make changes it. If I step forward an inch, not even that far, if I lean forward, you know, it changes the size of the ellipse. So that's why a lot of people paint from photographs rather than from life. You know, everything's there and it doesn't move, but I like painting from life. I like the challenge of it, and that's just me. I think it's better. I think you see things better when you paint from life. I like the challenge of all of it. I like the challenge of drawing and you know, again, so I make a mistake. And the bowl, the face of the bowl is darker because it's not catching light. And this side's darker because it's catching less light. Kind of creating the shape of it as I go. The green bottle, I'm not going to deal with that yet. I think we'll get some paint on the background, and because it's clear, I mean it's green, but it's a clear bottle. I think we'll be painting a lot of it in and then developing it. So let's just get the background covered. Takes a lot more paint than I'm used to because of the bigger canvas. We're just going to mix up some ultramarine and some of that burnt sienna, because I got a lot of that out of here, and make it dark. We're going to block our shadows in first with that. Okay, I'm looking, this shadow kind of comes right out of there. We'll see if we like it as we go along. No, we may not. The other, you can see the shape of the shadow, I mean of the handle right there. So if you're an artist, I hope you're taking advantage of this time being shut in to paint. It's dark down between those, and we may be able to create a lost edge that way. We'll see how it goes as we move along. Lost edge again is where the value is very close to the behind it, and you can't really see the object, you can't see the edge. We won't really have a lost edge on this guy because there's a metal band there that runs down the edge. Again, we'll just block that in because the bottle, again, we're seeing through it, so we'll block it in down to here. I just got to remember it's there. Oh, I will. All right, I'm looking at it. It is funny, you can miss things. You know, I paint outside a lot, and you'll be painting along for quite a while, and it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at that, I missed that. You get so absorbed, you know, on a certain area, or you know, and I may not like the shape of it, kind of curves like the handle. It just, you know, will it be interesting? I don't know. We'll have to decide later. Maybe. And this kind of just squares off and follows the shape of the churn, kind of up like that. Again, we'll be doing everything twice, at least. Okay, so into this dark mixture, I'm going to lighten it up with some white. Kind of a gray. Again, a lot different painting on a big canvas, isn't it? Getting it covered with paint. We've been at this 55 minutes. I did tone it ahead, as you see. You didn't have to watch me do that boring stage of it, right? And I don't want to cover up all my tones, so like there's any chance of that, right? As thin as I'm painting right now. See, I'm probably not gonna, it's early, but I'm probably not gonna want, you know, this light value there. Even though it is, I just doubt that I'll want that. Probably what we'll do then is we'll let this dry. And when we come back to it, we'll probably start just developing an object at a time. That's usually what I do. And then remember, we've got coming out from this bottle, across this leg, we've got berries, a stem of berries. I've got forsythia blooming out in front, and I almost went out and got some of that, but it's not going to last long enough for us to do this. I have tulips coming up. I'm so excited. I put a lot of them in last fall. Some of them are purple. Oh, I'm excited to paint those. Wouldn't they have been pretty in here? But again, we're working with restricted time here. Again, this is our bottle here. It's hard to see much over in there. So I'm just blocking in. It's light in the bottom, it's dark in the top, and then we'll develop it later on. And there's a real nice shadow under here. shape of that. And then the foreground is quite a bit darker. I may have to take this out of the easel to get that in there, so we may do that later. I've got it clamped in there. You know, and there's some things that will make it feel more like fabric. You know, juts up into there. But we'll worry about that later. We're just getting some color on there. As I look at this setup, I have two light sources. Can't help it. Got an overhead light and got the light on my subject. And it creates, I got a shadow here, and I have a bigger shadow here, and I believe that's from the ceiling light. All right, now the only thing that bothers me is I'm looking at it. Let's just try to lighten it with some water, if this area is still bothering me. See if I can pull some of that out of there. The crimson just kind of took over everything. Ooh, we got a light now. Too light. That's okay. I just need to pull some of that out of there. Mix up something more appropriate. Some blue and some sienna. Okay. Shadow comes right about the top of the picture. And of course we don't have the handle or anything in yet. That'll come later. There's a metal piece here that runs across and curves. You know, I'm just throwing this in, but it doesn't mean anything. Dark under there. There's a shadow there I missed. Again, things like that, you know, we'll make it dimensional if we get that correct. All right, because it's covered now, we're just looking at values because we're going to let it dry after this. So let me see how my values look. That could be a little darker. Look at the shape of this a little bit better. Again, just looking at my drawing, looking at my values. Looking at the shape of this, comes down to a point, and it's actually got a little bottom on it, so let's see if we can cut in with this. You know, and this is not a commission. This is not someone's object, so if it satisfies me, that's what counts, because I'm doing it for me. I know it's a little hard to tell what I got. You're not even seeing what I'm doing. I'm sorry. I'm messing with this little bowl down here, trying to adjust the shape of it a little bit. Oh, I'm really sorry about that. It's just such a big canvas. Okay, so are we satisfied enough for tonight? Again, we're just trying to look at values and, you know, brighten that up a little bit. This is a really pretty warm color down through here, which we'll be worrying about later on. The shadow follows comes over, comes across. I don't know, we'll have to look at that too. All right, this is a little hard edge for a shadow. Let's soften that up. And again, we'll have our bottle will be here. Approximately. Something like that. All right. Have to do some measurements and see. I'm looking at the side of that. See how that compares. It's approximately that size. Could be a little bigger even. I thought it looked too big, but all right, we got a crazy start. I'll pull you out in front of it and let you see. Don't judge me yet. It's a long, long way to go. This can dry and we'll be coming in and very strokey, very thin at this point. Again, just trying to get the drawing in and the values. This looks a little callywampas, but I'll have to look at that again. You know, we're looking at it not dead on. I've got it, see, those go uphill, and we're looking at some of the side, which I thought made it interesting, rather than putting it dead on. We're looking, show you again, we're looking down into the pitcher and down into the bowl. So it's a start. I mean, it's just a sketch, really, just in paint, though. All right, thanks for joining me. I'm going to let this dry a few days, and then we'll come back on and start developing it more with thicker paint and more accurate color and more accurate values. All right, thank you for joining me. Stay well. Have a good night. Bye-bye.